How can you stand out in your lab during your research experience? Let me share some tips and tricks with you. Hi, I'm Shivani Mehta, your resident research expert at MedSchoolCoach and author of the book Demystifying Research for Pre-Medical Students. Once you've found a lab and established your presence, it's time to optimize your time and ensure that you're striving to reach your full potential. Every student has various commitments, and it's important to know that PIs are aware of this. Chances are they've mentored many students before you who are juggling their classes, a cappella practices, student groups, or club meetings, and a job on campus. They don't expect you to be their full-time worker in their lab, however, they do expect you to make the most out of the time you spend there. Let's talk about a few ways to showcase your productivity and stand out as a research student. For starters, most of your communication with your PI is through email. So how you communicate this way is really critical. When they reach out to you, the quicker you reply, the more committed you'll seem. To a PI, emailing is almost as time-sensitive as texting is to you. If they have any questions, you'll see that they will email you rather than call or text you. We know emails can be a tedious form of communication. However, labs rely on email because it is a secure and professional form of communication to exchange sensitive patient information and document everything in one place. Change this notion with a simple method and stand out from your peers. Set a time each day to check your emails and reply to them within 24 hours. When it comes to emailing a PI back, don't worry about sounding formal or spending an hour constructing the email. In the email, just be concise, only include the information that needs to be conveyed, and just use a respectful tone. The more you practice this, the more comfortable you'll get at it. Next, let's talk about lab meetings. Attending weekly lab meetings is another chance to become more involved in the lab and showcase your interest in their work. Most labs have weekly meetings with the entire lab staff to review the existing project's progress. Even though you may not be a lab staff member, attending these brief meetings provides a full rundown of the status of different projects and updates in the lab. It is also a chance to passively build your research presentation skills by watching new presentations each week. Most importantly, this may be your only chance to interface with researchers on other projects that you may not see on a day-to-day basis. If you are not initially invited to these meetings, try to be proactive and ask your PI if you can attend. Eventually, you can also ask to present your own research in these meetings. Med schools love to see that you're getting actively involved in the lab, and this is one of the best ways to do it. Overall, attending these meetings will increase awareness of where your project fits into the lab. If you cannot show up in person because of your schedule, at least ask if there's an alternative option to join virtually. The next thing we're going to talk about is to have frequent meetings with the PI. The most successful researchers frequently communicate with their mentors and have regularly scheduled one-on-one meetings. This method is important because PIs often have tens of people under them constantly transitioning in and out of the lab. Therefore, your needs may be a distant memory to them. A bi-weekly or monthly meeting with your PI or mentor is an excellent opportunity to showcase everything you've helped out in the lab while expressing future goals that you wish to be mentored on. Meetings like this establish a unique rapport that will be useful when it's time for your PI or your mentor to write you a letter of recommendation or pick you to put on the next publication. Email your PI and ask them if you can schedule a 15-minute block bi-weekly or monthly meeting to go over your progress. Make sure you establish this routine from the onset of you joining the lab. This can be especially helpful during the early stages of ascending the learning curve. Here is an email template. Dear Dr. Smith, I wanted to update you on my current progress on the lung cancer project. In the last month, I worked on learning how to do data entry and was able to finish inputting 1 month of data. Through this, I learned the formatting of our projects and the steps of data collection. I would love to update you more regularly, get more feedback, and gain more insight and advice on my research career as I progress through school. Would you be open to having bi-weekly or monthly progress meetings? I know your schedule is extremely busy, but I feel that even a quick 15-minute monthly check-in would be really helpful. Please let me know if this works for you. Next, let's talk about how to acquire new skills in the lab. The full-time employees and grad students in your lab have a myriad of skills that have led them to their successes. Anytime you both have downtime, try to pick up one of those skills by asking your coworker to teach you. For example, you can meet the lab manager as long as you are respectful of their time and see how they can teach you how to clean and organize data. By doing this, next time some of these people need help, you can be useful to them in a variety of ways and get more involved in the project. In addition to your PI, there are many other successful researchers in your lab who have insight to offer you. Many of these folks have pursued different fields, whether it's an MD, PhD, MPH, MSc, and started as a student just like you. If you ask any of them, they will likely tell you that finding their passion requires a lot of trial and error. People in these positions take pride in their unique path, and it is usually really fruitful to sit down with them and ask them about their journey. Each person you meet will continue to shape your perspective and help you build your skills in networking. Never feel as though someone doesn't have the time to meet with you. You never know until you ask. Many people, even in highly successful positions, are open to having informative interviews with students. See this sample template of an email that you can send to somebody that you find really interesting that you'd like to meet. Dear Dr. Smith, my name is Shivani and I'm currently a freshman working in Dr. Kumar's lung cancer lab. I recently attended your talk on new cancer treatment biomarkers and I've been really interested in this topic. I was wondering if I can sit down with you and get your advice on shaping my career path and research interests. Sincerely, Shivani. Next, we're going to talk about keeping meticulous notes. It's always important to keep track of what you learn each day in the lab, as well as any questions that come up. Keep a record of your daily tasks completed and the new things you've learned. In the future, when you look back a year from now, a notebook will have informed you of your growth. Keeping a notebook will make you feel more connected to the bigger picture. Your notes can also later be used to help teach younger students who come in after you and are taking over your job. My next advice is to keep up with the latest literature. Every time you read a new paper, you become more informed on current science. Since every project you will work on is based on other past projects, there will always be papers you can read to give you context to what you're doing right now. Therefore, when your PI tells you to read a few papers, they're actually trying to show you the origin story of your project. This also becomes important when it's time to come up with your own projects in the future. So that brings me to my next point. Let's talk about starting your own project. After you've mastered all the steps that make a successful project, it's time to step up to the next level and lead your own. One of the biggest misconceptions that college students have is that they cannot do an independent research project at a college level. The reality is that you don't need to be a PI, a postdoc, or a PhD student to lead your own project from initiation to dissemination, which is essentially everything that we discussed in the previous videos. Once you come up with an idea and have good mentors supporting you, you can definitely try to explore a research question on your own. It's no secret that medical schools love leadership. A doctor is required to be a leader who formulates ideas, answers questions, and leads their team to success. One of the best ways to show leadership as a student is to formulate a research question and attempt to answer it using the scientific method. Although the process does take time, it will ultimately be fulfilling and help you stand out because you created your own idea and chased down the answer on your own. Know that creating your own project could mean collecting brand new data on your own or using existing data that was previously collected and analyzing it with your own spin. Both are extremely valid ways to showcase your research prowess, and it will be impressive to medical schools. The best way to come up with a research question is to build off on what you already know. The next step is to figure out how you're going to get the data. Do you need brand new data, or is there already a database that exists with this information? Finally, with the help of your mentor, write an IRB and proposal that details why this project is important and how you're going to execute it. Ultimately, taking initiative in this way is going to blow your PI away. Not only will they be impressed, but they will also benefit because their list of projects has grown because you did all the heavy lifting. Nice work!